easy. So having that constant love in my life was pretty much invisible to me, especially from a man, perspective of a man. I would see my dad off and on. It was chaotic for me. So growing up, my relationship with the Lord was very roller coaster like. I would go to church with my mom, like when she felt like going to church, but then it would come downhill, like I'd be angry with God and it'd go up and down and up and down. And she would take us to church, but we would kind of church hop. Okay, like she was feeling this church, she wasn't feeling that church. It was all over the place. So for me, the Lord was kind of like a 911 call for me, like very at arm's length. Oh, when I need the Lord, I'll call on him. Until I got into, I want to say middle school. So that was like around 12, 13 years old. That's when I started getting into dating and whatnot. That's when I started experiencing witchcraft. I, was dabbling in things I probably shouldn't have. Kind of pulled away from it at the beginning of high school, but then when I graduated, it all went downhill. I got really deep into paganism. I got into Satanism, so like it was really hardcore for me, and was dating here and there, and all I wanted was that love. I wanted to find the person that would see me for me, and I thought I knew best. My mom would always say, like, I don't like this person for you, I don't like that person, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about, Mom. Whatever. We all think that at one point, like we know best. Better than our parents, No, you don't know, Mom, like I know best for myself. And it was quite a ride with dating because I hung out with the wrong group of people in middle school, at age 12, 13. It was pretty bad because, already at that age, unfortunately, they're having sex in middle school, 12 and 13-year-olds, praise God. He still protected me at that age. But to be real with everybody in this room, I was pretty young when I gave that gift up. I was in high school, and it wasn't to a pleasant person. It really wasn't. And I dealt with a lot of trauma. Like again, to be transparent in here, I dealt with being raped. I dealt with being molested as a child because that was the reality of growing up where I was growing up at. So my trust for men wasn't really there, Sorry. So it was really hard for me to put my trust in a man. And, thank you. So it was really hard for me to put my trust in a man. And I kept dating and dating to try and find the right person. And it was really, really hard. But I never, even then, looking back now, I always knew that the Lord was with me then. Even when I was, like, denying him, even when, I felt I knew best, even when I was in paganism, Satanism, you name it. One day I was with, I have a daughter, which is fertile stepdaughter. Her name is Autumn, and I just remember being with her father, and I just said, I was deeply into the paganism thing, witchcraft and everything, and I just remember one day I wasn't happy anymore because he never did tell me that he loved me, and I knew then, I was like, this isn't right, So one day I just sat in the room and I go, Lord, I don't know if you're there, like, I don't know if you're there, but all I ask is that, you show me something because I can't do this on my own, and I'm tired. 2 weeks later, I found out I'm pregnant. And it's really hard because I already knew the answer from her father. He tried to make me get an abortion. And he dragged me to a clinic. And it was really hard. Very hard. And even in that midst, I was thinking that spiritual battle, even then knowing, I was so angry with God. But at that moment, I was like, no, I'm not going to kill this child. Because I may never be a mother again. I may never have that opportunity again. So I was sitting in the abortion clinic, and I went as far as seeing the doctor, and I walked out, and I told him no. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not doing this for you. I'm keeping my child, whether you're going to be here or not. So that ended that relationship. So So I raised her, as a single mother. It was very hard, but the Lord had shown me something within that journey. Of course, that still didn't come close to the Lord. It was still a roller coaster until 2017, 18. I got really sick, and I thought I was going to die. And I still kept the Lord at arm's reach, arm's length. And I really did think I was going to die, so it brought me closer to the Lord. My mother grew up in a Catholic church. She raised us in non-denominational Christians, so that was my faith. So I came back to the non-denominational church. I decided, you know what? I'm going to get baptized. I'm going to dedicate my life to the Lord. I never understood Catholicism. I never understood the Catholic faith, only by what my mom kind of perceived it as her own. But then slowly but surely the Lord started to show me little tidbits, okay. For some reason, even in my journey, would see a Carmelite nun. And for some reason I was fascinated by them. Little by little, as the years started growing closer to meeting Fergal, not knowing then, as he even mentioned, for some reason I started growing to love Ireland, even though I've never been to Ireland, but I was just like, I want to really visit Ireland. I don't know why. So my love for the Lord started growing. And then, the year before I met Fergal, I was dating this gentleman. And I thought, okay, well, maybe this is a person. But even then, in my heart, I was just like, I don't know if it's going to work out, whatever. And then finally, he broke it off with me. And I'm so glad that he did. As bad as that sounds, even then, as heartbroken as I was, I came crying to my mother, and I was on my knees in tears before her, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to accept just being single, because I'm done. I'm done with dating. I'm done with trying to find a person, but what I will say is that I'm tired of doing it my way, and I know that's why it didn't work out. And I have to put my pride aside and allow the Lord to maneuver things now. I'm tired of doing things my way. I'm tired of looking for love that I think is the love for me. So she sat down and she held my hands and she said, Cheryl, what have I been telling you all these years? Sit down, pray, have time with the Lord, and make a list of what you want to look for in a man. And ladies, I'm not saying he has to look like Thor or, that's not what I mean. That's not it. But realistically, what you want in a man. For me, it was somebody with a beautiful heart. It was somebody who'd be there not only for me, but for my daughter. Somebody who would bring me closer to the Lord. Somebody who who just radiates the Lord's love. I had this long list, and me and my mom prayed over it, and she made a copy of it. She kept one in her wallet, and I kept one in mine. Next year comes around, I get on that website that Fergal was talking about, and as he had mentioned, I kind of got inspired by a friend of mine who's also a Christian. And I was just like, I don't know about this online dating thing. I've done it before. It hasn't turned out the greatest, but it was a Christian dating, and I've never done that before. So I prayed about it. And I said, I'll give it a week, Lord. If nothing happens in a week, I'm done. The last day, I believe it was a Friday. That last day, I logged on, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to delete it. But something told me, someone told me,